Welcome to the Albuquerque Journal's Fast Break High School Basketball Show with your host, James Yodice. This show is sponsored by Western New Mexico University.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fast Break, the Albuquerque Journal's high school basketball podcast. I am James Yodice. I'm the high school sports editor at the Albuquerque Journal. First, apologies for last week. I was really under the weather last week, so I had to cancel my podcast appearance. I just was not in any way, shape, or form physically able to do one last week. So I'm sorry we missed last week to recap the Metro tournament. But we are back. We've got a guest in studio. I'm going to introduce him in just a minute. We're going to talk primarily the start of district tournament basketball this week. All of the metro area districts getting underway this week with district action. We've already had a couple of big games as I sit down and record the podcast here. It's Wednesday afternoon. Last night, Tuesday, we had two number one teams both lose here in Albuquerque last night. The Sandia girls, who were ranked number 4 in Class 5A, they beat top-ranked Farmington, and Farmington was the new number 1 as of yesterday. Sandia beat them 64-42. A great performance by the Sandia girls. Sydney Benally, maybe the best game I've seen her play since she got to Sandia. And we're going to bring in a bit of video on her in just a second. She had 28 points. She played fantastically well. She ran the floor. She directed traffic. 28 points. Sandia beats Farmington by 22 points. So the volatility at the top of the Class 5A girls coaches poll has been really fun to watch. We've had a lot of head-to-head games between those 5 teams: Farmington, Hobbs, Volcano, Sandia, La Cueva. So Farmington ranked number 1 and immediately gets blown out by Sandia, who was ranked number 4. We'll see how that adjusts the poll. And real quick, I wanted to mention that I had a chance to catch up with Sydney Benally last night after her great game. This is what she had to say. So we're here with Sydney Benally of Sandia, 28 points tonight. Sandia beats Farmington 64-42. Farmington came in ranked number 1, a new number 1. I wondered if you could just talk me through how well this team, your team, played tonight.
Yeah, I feel like we came in, locked in, focused. We knew what had to be done. Shot goes up. We know that they need only one chance, and that needs to end with a rebound in our hands. And so I felt like that we did that tonight. So if you're thinking about all the games your team has played this year, how would you rank this performance? I feel like I'd say it's one of our top performances because we stayed together. We dialed in on our scouting report. The defensive, we brought it. And then whenever they brought momentum, we were able to just contain ourselves and bring us back up. So your coach just told me that you guys took a couple of hits in the mouth at Metro's there on the weekend. So how have you guys kind of hit the reset button, especially because in your district, it's going to be so tough every night? Yeah, I felt like we needed those loss and those meet up against those tough teams in Metro. It helped us point out what we need to work on, and just playing some like not so competitive teams, it just gets us ready for district.
Education and training at Western New Mexico University is accessible from every corner of the land of enchantment, providing limitless opportunities toward success for more than a century. And now, through the New Mexico Opportunity Scholarship, tuition and fees are covered for anyone looking to start or start over. Along with free tuition, books are always included for every WNMU student. Assuring your only worry is how far you can actually go. Lift off toward your future and endless potential at WNMU today.
So there was another number 1 team in action last night. That would be the boys from Albuquerque Academy. They went to Valley. The Vikings led pretty much most of the way, beat the Chargers 65-60. So Valley ranked number 2 in Class 4A. That was a district opener for both Valley and Academy. So the Chargers lose on the road. Of course, Valley, as we all know, is a very tough gym to play in for anybody. And that brings me to my guests today. Panas, who is the head boys basketball coach at Valley High School, has been kind enough to join me here in studio today. Easy, good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Good to see you. Thanks for having us.
Why don't we just start with last night? So, and I'll be honest, I was covering the Sandia girls game. So when they were over, I rushed down and caught the second half of your game. You were up, I think 10 or 12 when I got there. And you held that lead most of the way. Academy made a bit of a run late, but they never really got close to winning this game, and you guys were able to fend them off. But this is a district opener. This district is very deep with Academy, with Valley, with Hope Christian. So let's just talk about getting this district, a brutal district, off to such a good start. And as always, you have to hold home court.
Yeah, for sure. I think we had this one circled on our calendar since last year, losing to these guys in the state semifinal by 2 points, and had a look there at the end. But we've had this one circled on our calendar for a long time, and I told the guys we got to defend our home court. You don't want to be chasing Academy all throughout the district. Hope's playing well right now, so it was very important for us to get that first win.
I hear coaches say this all the time. Look, whatever we do, we've got to hold our home court. If we can steal one on the road somewhere, great. We'll have a good chance to win the regular season. But I've always wondered how practical that is. I mean, holding home court it's an easy thing to say, but it's not so easy to do, especially in Albuquerque, in any district, in a 5A district or in a 4A district, where you have so much depth, like District 1 5A with Volcano and Cleveland and Atrisco, or in your district with yourselves, Academy, Hope. It's very difficult to do this. It's easy to say, but hard to do.
Yeah, for sure. You're just going down the road a few miles, and we play all summer against each other. We play in the spring, the fall, so they get used to playing in other teams' gyms, and there's such good coaches in high school basketball nowadays, and especially in our district for sure. They have us well scouted. We have everyone scouted, so they're going to know your tendencies, your strengths, your weaknesses, what you do. So once you get to that game, you got to really execute.
Going back to November, you and I talked before the season began, and of course, we made reference to the loss to Academy in the semifinals at the Pit back in March, and you had a good bit of your team coming back. I like this team a lot. I saw you guys early in the year against Albuquerque High, but you were shorthanded that night because a couple of the guys were playing in the All-Star football game. So the game against Atrisco Heritage last Friday was the first time I had a chance to see you at full strength, and then the last two quarters last night. I know you love this team. Why don't you just tell us, in your mind, what distinguishes this team and why you believe you've got a legit chance to win a blue trophy?
They're just great kids. They're really great kids. This is the group that I kind of started with when we took over the program. Kind of built them up since they were freshmen and kind of got them to do what we wanted them to do. And they love each other. They hang out with each other off the court. They're really good kids. Apart from being basketball players, I got athletes from football in Albuquerque and Charles Lopez Burton. So they bring that physicality and that toughness. And they just love being around each other and playing with each other. They played all spring together. They played all summer together. We played in fall league together. So they just love hanging out with each other, playing and competing with one another.
The kid that's impressed me most is Julian Chavez, 6'2", wing. He reminds me a lot, actually, as I was watching the second half of the game last night, in build, he reminds me a lot of Joe Jack from Academy, who's a tremendous player, one of the best players in 4A, as is Julian. Very athletic. He can get to the rack. He can shoot it a bit. He has been the kid that's impressed me in the games that I've seen from you. Tell me a little bit about this kid.
He's really turned it on the last few games. He's athletic. He's got great size, great athleticism. He can shoot the three ball. He can get to the basket. Great defender. I think he had probably 6 or 7 steals last night just in the first half, and he was really active in passing lanes. But I told him last night after the game, I said, you play like that, it's going to be tough for someone to beat us. So he's active on both ends of the court, probably the one of the better two-way players along with Joe Jack in 4A. But kind of as he goes, we go.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other night watching him. He's just got that natural athlete look to him. And I don't think I realized, I didn't see that in the game you played against Albuquerque High, which of course was really early in the year, but tremendous athleticism. That's what struck me, and his ability to adapt and find different ways to score. This is what makes a great scorer, a kid that can find different ways to put it in the hole, mid-range. 3-pointers, getting to the rack, drawing contact, things like that. And he brings that whole package, I thought.
Yeah, he's put a lot of time into his offensive game. He's always been gifted athletically, always been a great defender ever since he was a sophomore, played for us. But offensively, he's really come around, put a lot of time into his game. And I think now he's really coming into his own offensively where he can score at all 3 levels.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to talk about was your background a bit. You played at West Mesa, graduated in 98, I think. And you spent some time coaching at West Mesa with Diego Aragon. And you were telling me that after Diego left West Mesa, Joe Coleman stepped in and hired you to be an assistant coach at Valley. Can you take me through that and how that partnership came to be?
Yeah, kind of started coaching early when I was 19 or 20. Diego gave me the opportunity. I played for him. We had a great relationship. So he coached for about 3 or 4 more years and did that, and we had a great time over there. I did a good job, and then he resigned, and Coach Coleman, I knew Coach Coleman through a friend of mine and coached against him a few times, and he liked the kind of the way we played. We played similar styles to what Valley was playing, and so he offered me the job, and I've been there ever since, and it's crazy to say that it's been 24 years already.
I think if memory serves, you were with Joe for 17 seasons total. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And the last 10 or so, you were pretty much his right-hand guy. And I saw Joe Friday night at the Atrisco Heritage game, and I saw him in the stands last night against Academy. So, I mean, Joe's a Valley guy through and through, so
sure.
He's still highly invested in the Valley program. But I guess I'd want to ask you what you felt like you most inherited or learned during all those years with Joe, who led Valley to 3 state championships while he was the head coach.
I think the biggest thing is just his intensity, his competitiveness.
Joe was intense. I can't believe it.
Yeah, and you guys see it on the court, but it's every day in practice, and just getting our guys to compete on a daily basis, to be tough, to get after it defensively. And just bring that energy and that competitive spirit every day, and that's what we've tried to do and continue on as we've taken over, and I think we've done that, and just build a defensive mindset, a togetherness, a team spirit, and just a toughness.
But was there anything I don't know, philosophically or in the way a program has to be run as a head coach? I hear this all the time from coaches who go from assistant coach to head coach, how different it is. You know, it's just so much more work outside of the sport itself. Was there anything managerially that, if that's even a word, that you picked up from Joe about how to oversee a program and how to manage it on a day-to-day basis, both in season and off season?
Not too much. I try and focus on the basketball part and not get involved, because it can overwhelm you at times. So I have lots of people around me, and we've had lots of people around us in the past. Even when Joe was there, a great group of parents and booster club and stuff like that kind of oversee and take care of the stuff that we need to take care of off the court. But yeah, so it allows us to just focus on the basketball part and put 100% into that.
So Joe resigned / retired in the fall of 2020. We were still in the pandemic. You got the job, I think it was late October, early November of 2020, and we weren't playing basketball. We finished the state tournament in March in an empty pit when you guys, I think, beat Highland in overtime, right? So you got the job in November when we weren't even playing basketball, and then we didn't even start the next season, which was a shortened season
10 games.
Until the spring, and we finished, I think, in May that year. So your first full season would have been 2021-22. But I think I'd want to get your thoughts about taking over this particular program. Valley is a very unique program in Albuquerque. Actually, I would say it's unique among a lot of other programs, even outside the metro area. But look, Valley is super unique here in the city. Valley has, I would say, the most passionate prep basketball fans in the city, even in the metro area. You know this. You've been in that gym many times, and I've been in that gym many times when it was full and suffocating and 100 degrees, and it was like the old Boston Garden, I imagine.
Exactly.
When you got the job, there's a lot of pressure. You guys were the defending state champions at this point. And that's a tough gig. It's a tough gig to become a new head coach when you're succeeding a really successful coach anyway, like Joe. But you're coming off a state title. So I'm wondering, as you stepped into the job, what kind of emotions you were going through. We were in such a weird spot, because of the pandemic. Where was your head at during that whole process?
No, it was for real a weird time during COVID and all that stuff, and COVID hit us kind of hard. Lost some players due to it and stuff like that. But we just really wanted to establish the program and keep what Coach Coleman had going on, and just making sure our guys play hard, are together, our toughness. We come to work every day. They're gym rats and stuff like that. And we knew we were going to take a little dip in talent. we lost. We had won back-to-back championships, and we knew we were going to drop a little bit talent-wise, but we wanted to compete and get after it, and we felt we had a group to do that, and instill just the toughness that Valley basketball is.
I always think, and I've run into this a few times in my career, where a coach stepped in with a team that had won state the year before, and they were starting over with a new coach. And I always find it interesting, the challenge that new coach faces in terms of wanting to put their own fingerprint on a program, which is their right to do, without losing the identity of the program that already existed when you got there. And I wonder if you could speak to that and the balance that's involved.
Yeah, we like I said in the first interview when you interviewed me for the job, I said we're gonna do 95% of the same stuff that we do. I think we do a little bit more outside in the off season than we had in the past. A little bit more skill development because some of these teams in 4A can really score the ball. So we had to get better from an offensive standpoint. So we've really had to focus on that and keeping up with the Del Nortes, with the Duma Sanchez's, and the academies who can really score the ball. So we couldn't just be a defensive, tough-minded team and play great defense and expect to win. We had to get better offensively, and I think we've done that, and we're at a point now where we can compete with the best in 4A offensively.
Fans in the North Valley, as I said, love their high school basketball. You know, for the big games at Valley, you'll see them fill that gym. And Valley's a great gym to watch a game in. My favorite gym probably to watch a game in because it's so small. And when it's full, and I believe until last night, I don't think I realized the capacity of this gym is only about 900. Yeah. I thought it was more. I thought it was maybe closer to 1,200. But when this gym is crowded for the big games, and this goes back even when Valley was 5A and Valley was in a district with teams like Atrisco Heritage and Albuquerque High and whatnot. This can be a very suffocating place to play. The North Valley fans love their Valley basketball. Why do you think that is? Why is this particular community so attached and so feverishly passionate about high school basketball in a way that's different than all the other APS schools?
They're just great people. They care about the community. They take pride in their community. They want to see their kids do well. They take great pride in their kids. Basketball, I mean, it's a basketball state, to be honest. The North Valley is a special place. The gym just brings the whole community together. I think I like to say and hope that the way we play brings people out, though, as hard as we play and the toughness we play with, the togetherness that we play with brings people out. And it's a tribute to Coach Coleman and what he has done for the last 20 years is establishing a style of play that people want to see on a nightly basis.
It took me a few years as a reporter to realize if I was going to Valley to cover a really important basketball game, do not wear, even no matter how cold it is outside, do not wear long sleeves. You must wear a short sleeve. Bring a jacket and wear a short sleeve shirt because that gym can be suffocatingly hot. I learned that. It took me a few years to realize that finally. When the North Valley fills up that gym and you can't find any place to park outside and every seat is filled, I learned the hard way. I remember wearing like a quarter zip like I'm wearing today, and I was just hotter than hell. And I thought, I can't do this going forward. So I learned after that, you got to wear a short sleeve shirt when you go to Valley. I love that about Valley because the environment there is unique. Like I said, I can think about any school or any team in the metro area. No gym has the same kind of electricity that Valley does when it is full and everybody's really attentive and there's a big game. There is no gym like it.
And that's what I told the guys before the game. I was like, we dropped a couple at home, and I told them this is the best place in the city to play a basketball game, guys. And we need to protect our home floor and start winning some games so we can get the crowds back because they want to see a winner and they deserve a winner. And that was kind of our speech pregame last night is to get our home court advantage back and start defending home court. But like you said, it's the best place in the city by far to play. I've seen some downright magic happen in that gym when we've been down 6 or 7 with a minute to go and we find a way to pull it out. But it's a testament to our students, our fans, and community members. We have people that come to the games that don't even have kids there, and they just want to come see Valley basketball. And when that national anthem goes off every game, we really are appreciative to be in the position that we're in. I
always tell people when anybody asks me about a particular state tournament that's really good, and it was not was that your favorite state tournament? And I always say no. I always go back to 1996. Of course, you were still playing yourself. 1996 in Las Cruces, and and Valley goes down, and back then there were 10 teams at state. There were 5 districts. Top 2 teams get in from each district. So it wasn't like, it wasn't like what we have today with 16 teams being seeded. We had 10 teams get in. Valley, I would argue, was the worst of the 10 teams that year. And I tell the story as often as I can. Valley goes in and wins 4 games in 4 days. They beat Las Cruces High School on Las Cruces' home court in what we called then the pre-playoffs. And then the next 3 days they beat Albuquerque High, Hobbs, and Alamogordo. I can't remember. Alamo was in the final. I can't remember Hobbs and Albuquerque High, what order. But they go out and beat Jim Holzman, Ralph Tasker, and Ron Geyer on 3 straight days. And all 3 of those teams were heavily favored to beat Valley. So, and that tournament is being played in the Pan American Center. And Valley wins the state title, which was just amazing. And here we are in 2024. This is 28 years ago. That state tournament still really holds a special place in my heart because that, to me, has always defined what makes high school basketball in New Mexico so special. You don't know. Exactly. Now, those are rare, but you don't know.
Exactly. And I remember that like it was yesterday. One of my best friends, Noah Trujillo, was on that team, and I followed that team. That was one hell of a run that they went through right there. And Kenny Ortiz, who coached with us, was on that team. They had some talent, but their record wasn't great, and they got hot at the right time, and it was a special run. And Coach Gerald Snyder coached that team up, and he had them prepared for that run, and they got it done.
Coach Snyder's wife at the time, she was my high school journalism teacher at Cibola. So I always had a good relationship with Coach Snyder. I was always very fond of him. He died a couple of years ago, which made me very sad. But what a magical run. And it speaks to what happens, which is why everybody wants to get to the pit or get to Albuquerque for state tournament week, because you just don't know. Even if you're an 8 or a 9 seed, we've even seen it with Rio Rancho and Volcano Vista winning state as an 11 seed, as a 12 seed. You just don't know. And I think more than anything else, that's what defines the New Mexico State Tournament. You never know.
No, it's the best time of year, and so we always tell our guys, especially we're 8, 9, 10, 11. I think we were a 7 seed a couple of years back, and we ended up making a run and getting it done. But last year we were a 12 seed, and we told the guys 1 game at a time, and let's just get to the pit and see what happens. Because just like at Valley, there's crazy stuff that happens when you get to the pit.
Describe it for me. When you're upstairs, you're in your locker room, you haven't gone down on the floor yet. The emotion in the room as the guys get ready to hit the floor.
Oh, at the pit, it's awesome. Just running down that ramp or walking down that ramp and hearing the North Valley just go crazy when we get ready to warm up. There's no feeling like it. It's indescribable. It's just the best, and it's great for high school kids to experience that, and that's what we tell them in summer workouts and preseason workouts. That's what you're working for, is to get that feeling in March and have that feeling of running down the ramp.
Now, you are not going to have that luxury this year. You certainly are not going to be a 12 seed. You're not going to be an 8 seed. You're not going to be a 5 seed. You clearly are going to be one of the top 4 seeds in some order, I think. And it could be by next week you'll be the new number 1 ranked team in Class 4A. Does that kind of stuff even matter in January?
It's nice for the kids to get that recognition, I think, and for the program to get that recognition. But we try not to put too much into it. We're just trying to focus on every day and practice and getting better and making sure that we're competing at a high level and taking it 1 game at a time. Because in our district, if you have an off night, you're going to take an L.
And forgive me, I might be getting this wrong. I thought it was you. It may not have been, and if it wasn't, I'm sorry. As I go back to November and we were talking about the season, there were a couple of coaches, and I thought you might have been one of them, that said flat out, I think Valley and Academy are the 2 best teams in 4A. Not to say other teams could not make noise and win this thing. Of course not. But let's get a handle on 4A basketball. Even whether it's your district or even outside your district, 3 of the top 4 ranked teams in Class 4A are in your district. Academy, Valley at 2, Hope at number 4. Then you got a team like Highland, who was ranked 3rd, and St. Pius, who was ranked number 7. So you got 5 of the top 7 ranked teams in the 2 metro districts, all very good teams.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think the Metro has a good handle on 4A basketball. Probably the better teams are here in town. But yeah, coming into the season, I thought Academy had a lot of returners. We obviously had a lot of returners. Highland had some guys, but they really stepped up, and Licon is playing out of his mind right now. He's really hard to guard, averaging over 30 a game. So they're a tough out. They got us early in the season at our gym, and they shot lights out. Hope's always going to be tough to prepare for. Coach Murphy's done a great job with this team, getting these guys better and just getting them prepared. I think they've won 5 or 6 in a row. St. Pius is always a tough out. They play great defense. They execute. They run their stuff. Coach Myers does a great job over there. That other Metro District is one to keep an eye on as well. And then outside the city, Artesia. We went down there for a road game, and that's a really tough place to play. And we came out of there with the last-second shot to win. Those guys, they're really big and physical, and they got a lot of football guys.
That was a low-scoring game, if I remember.
Yeah, it was in the low 40s, but Coach Mondragon does a good job down there. So once you get to probably that second round of state, anything can happen.
The theories often go, would you prefer to be a little bit off the radar when the postseason begins versus being one of the top couple of seeds? It looks like the number 1 seed is going to come from Albuquerque for sure. Who it's going to be, we don't know yet. But do you prefer coming into the state tournament a little bit off the radar, knowing you have a team that has a chance to win it, and stay away from that top seed thing? Because, look, number 1 seeds, number 2 seeds feel a lot of pressure many times. Not every time, but they can sometimes feel it when they get to the state tournament, and in particular the pit. And there's that onus on their shoulders about, hey, we're expected to win. We're the number 1 seed. We're expected to win this thing. Sometimes I think it's always better, maybe not always better. Sometimes I think it's better for a team a little bit off the radar to come in and just get your business done.
Yeah, for sure. You have nothing to lose. You go out there and let it hang out and see what happens. But I think it's probably a coach's job to lessen that pressure for their players a little bit and say, let's just go out, execute, do what we do what we've been doing all year long. Not worry about missing a shot or turning it over, just move on to the next play and stuff like that, and not thinking too big picture about it, just worrying on one possession at a time and keeping their focus that way. But we'll see. We haven't been the favorite in a while, but we like where we're at right now. And when it gets to the state tournament, I think it's really more about matchups than anything. If you get a favorable matchup, then you have a chance to maybe spring an upset. But I'd rather be a 1 or 2 seed than an 8 or 9 seed any day.
So let's talk about your schedule coming up. I think you play Cibola coming up this weekend outside your district. Since you're in a 5-team district, 1 team is usually off. You'll have the other 4 will be playing on a certain night, and the 5th team will be off. So you play Cibola, and then you return to district play, I think, against Hope. Next week, it's such a fun time of year. Now that I'm thinking about it, we were talking about Valley and the home court advantage. I've always wondered this. Has Valley ever turned up the thermostat in its gym for home basketball games? I want to hear it. I want to hear a yes or a no.
I don't think so. I don't even know where the thermostat is, to be honest. But it feels like it really is. Last night, I probably lost about 5 pounds during that game just walking up and down the sidelines. I was drenched, but makes it a tough place to play, and love the environment, and wouldn't change it for the world.
You're an active guy on the sideline, as Joe was. I always thought Joe. I was Kid Joe because Joe and I graduated the same year in 1984, and Joe was a Maloof Award winner at Valley. He was a spectacular multi-sport athlete. And I used to always kid Joe. I'm like, you should have gotten about 500 technicals in your career, and you somehow got away with it because you always knew right when to bump up against that barrier and bring an official over and pat him on the shoulder and let him know, hey, look, I'm just into the game. But I always, you were with Joe. Joe got away with so much.
He did.
Look, let's be honest. Joe was a great coach, but man, did he get away with a lot. And I used to laugh with him all the time. I'm like, man, you deserved a hell of a lot more technical fouls than you ever got.
No, for sure, he did. In his intensity, like I talked about earlier, that's what made our team go. And but I think the officials adjusted to it after time, and they know they sit out and talk with Coach Coleman off the court. He's just a normal dude, just a playful, normal dude, and everyone sees the intensity on the court, but off the court, he's just a normal, nice guy, and I think the officials got to know him after a few years, and they understood that.
And Joe has a very dry sense of humor. And he's really pretty soft-spoken guy when you got him away from basketball, and then, for those 32 minutes, he was just Yeah, he was just a whirling dervish walking up and down, stomping his foot, and I always got such entertainment value out of watching Joe coach. You seem to have a little bit of that same fiery style. Not everybody has it. Marcus Sitabaka, the coach at Academy. Much more cerebral. Greg Brown is another good example. Greg and Danny, Danny Brown, the coach at Sandia. Danny coaches in an entirely different way than Greg. Yeah, Danny's very demonstrative and loud, and he'll get in officials' faces. Greg is a little quieter. He'll make his point a little softer. I always find these kind of things, the contrast, really interesting.
Danny spent a few years over at Valley, so hanging out with Coleman probably influenced that a little bit. But no, I think you got to be your own person. Coaching at the Valley so long, there's an intensity that we have to play with. We're not always the biggest, the most athletic team, the most talented team, so we have to bring the intensity every night in and night out to have a chance. So we have to coach and play with the chip on our shoulder, and if we don't, we're going to get run out the gym. But try not to get too heated and still keep a clear mind, because you got to make adjustments out there on the fly.
Look, and honestly, I think the fan base feeds off that. They like they want to see their head coach and their players playing with that kind of energy and intensity. It doesn't work for everybody, I don't think, but it works for you, and it's a perfect fit for the North Valley.
No, for sure, and that's what it's about, is playing hard for our community and playing intense. And I think they enjoy seeing that style of basketball and that intensity and that defense and that toughness and that energy that we got to bring every night. And that's what it's all about, playing Valley basketball.
Well, Easy, listen, thank you for carving out some time today. I look forward to watching you guys during the second half of the season. I shouldn't even say second half. We're really into the final third now of the regular season. Everybody's got pretty much 8 district games, so 1 down, 7 more to go. February should be a fun month. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate your time. And, we'll look for the next coaches poll and see where you guys come out. Of course, there are 2 polls. There's the Max Preps poll, the computer poll. There's the coaches poll, which I prefer, where Valley was number 2 this week. I think you guys probably move into number 1 next week, and I think, honestly, the North Valley will eat it up.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having us. And,
thanks,
go Bikes.
So listen, that closes things out for me this week. Thanks for your time. You can find my podcasts on our website, abqjournal.com. You can also find them on YouTube. Same with Jeff Grammer's UNM men's basketball podcasts, which are immensely popular. You can find those on those same 2 platforms as well. If you want to find me for anything, you can find me on Twitter. I still call it Twitter. I'm sorry. I have to. At James D. Yodice. My email address is on that site if you want to find me. I welcome feedback, comments, suggestions, anything like that. And in the meantime, of course, we encourage you to read, hear, and watch. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next week.